We're just waiting for DMAC real quick, y'all. How y'all doing? Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy, our Sunday Town Hall edition. He should be logging in any minute.
I'm here.
What's going on with you?
How's it going?
Looking like a vampire over there. What's going on, Steve? You tapped in with us today? You send him I guess.
Yeah, you sent it to him. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday Town Hall show. My name is D-Mac Uno. This is my faithful partner, Wesley. We are here today to recap the week and have a little discussion on the crashing of the economy.
That's what it seems like, don't it?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, I don't play in the stock market, so I'm just like everybody else. Like, is that bad?
I mean, yeah, of course it's bad. What happens then is the ripple effect is the loss of jobs. When people, a lot of things are leveraged, man. A lot of things are used. Like people most times use their bigger companies, even like huge companies. They use their stock price as leverage to expand their business, or if things are going bad, it's not looking good in the stocks. I mean, and so they basically they'll shrink their businesses. Then we've seen that happen look at the housing crisis. We've seen it happen a number of different times. That kind of had a ripple effect onto everybody else. So,
well, a lot of businesses I've seen, anyways, like fast food, retail. If it's not the holidays, they're already shrunk. I remember working at Walmart, and what they did to everybody at the time, because if they give you full-time hours, they have to give you benefits. So they would just make everybody part-time, but you would still get 40 hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I mean, you're making it, but you say you're still getting 40 hours a week though.
Yep. They claim on your paperwork
down to part-time. Like, okay,
yeah,
I got you. I mean, but these tariffs are a little bit different in my eyes. I think that when you're looking at what's happening right now, this is going to increase the cost of everything from goods and everything else to people. It's kind of going to be it's going to be damn near. Like, look, the cost of everything just already went up, and everyone was complaining for the last election, but all of a sudden that kind of dissipated. And now we're about to get, to China just raise their tariff on us by 30, I think 34, 35%. So they're going to at least pass that on to you. At the very least, you're going to get 35% higher cost for little things. I watched a thing about with, what's his name? Mark Cuban came out and he was like, if I were everybody, I would go out and start buying like, little things like toiletries and things of that nature, like toothpaste, other stuff like that may not, if it's not made here, whatever case may be, you can kind of stockpile it, because once this inventory is off the shelf, the next inventory that comes through, next wave of it that comes through, it's going to be an issue, and so that's kind of what he's thinking. He's like, the prices are going to raise prices on stuff that at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter if they're getting this from out the country, if they're sourcing it or not. They're just going to act like they are. We saw them do it with grocery prices, so this isn't a new thing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, enough people lost their job anyways. So, I mean, I guess they kind of prepared for it. It's just kind of weird to watch, the stock market was crashing. And then they had the transfer of the soldiers from Lithuania, in which he didn't show up. He was golfing, which is, I mean, that's fine. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they died in combat. You know what I'm saying? They died in a training exercise, but it's fine. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they died in combat.
I think you're getting feedback. Hey, how you doing, Steve?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
We're just talking a little bit about the tariffs and everything. We having a conversation. I'm pretty sure that there's not anybody who really wants to see what's happening. It's been pretty bad on the market. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna lie. I've watched it this week, and in fact, I was sitting here working on Friday and watched that Dow tumble. And I'll be honest, I don't know how to take it. It's not the first time I've seen it.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely not the first time that we'll see in our lifetimes and come out of it at the same time, because eventually it will pick back up. I mean, it always does. I mean, it went into correction territory, and that's the way I look at it at this point.
But I mean, my only thing about it, of course, no one wants the stock market to tumble. I mean, that's just, especially when you have stocks yourself, you see, all the gains you've made are wiped off the board. Those are like, for people who aren't huge investors, those are strong gains. A person lose a couple $100,000, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like whatever.
I completely agree. I mean, I have a 401k I deal with, so I mean, I know what it's like. It took a hit.
And this was completely man-made, though, how I see it, though. That's the only problem with this. This was a complete, I mean, I understand most of them are, in most ways, you can kind of go back around and say, oh, well, this was man-made as well. But no, I mean, this is something that could have been handled differently from my perspective. I don't disagree with reciprocal tariffs on goods that that people are taxing us on. But I think that some things are just made that way for a reason. I think we could have made a better approach to this. He could have went country by country and actually sent out like emissaries to each country and sit down like, hey, we've got 90 days from the time my guy gets in office to the time we're going to put tariffs on you. We don't have to announce this to the world. We can go line by line, because there's some things in your country that are needed to have tariffs on, which are basically protecting, like in Colombia, right? They're protecting themselves with coffee and other things. This is some of their main exports that they have. One of our main exports to our country from them is coffee, So I can see them saying, okay, let's set this aside, but I want something that's 1-for-1 with you. Okay, if you're going to take this, I'll take this then. And we'll say, okay, we'll have tariffs on these goods to protect them from our trade agreement, but we're going to go forward and try to knock down as many of these tariffs that you have on our goods as possible, so that we're, kind of clear across the board. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But if you go back in history, in fact, they were showing videos of it, 20, 30 years ago, with Nancy Pelosi standing in front of a chart saying, hey, we have a 2% tariff on China. Well, they have a 35% tariff on us. So
absolutely,
it goes, and this is back in the Bush era, maybe even the Clinton era, that video was taken. And is it fair for us as a country to be taken advantage of? We pay for a lot cheaper goods because it's cheaper to make things in China, so we don't pay as much with getting that. But our goods cost more here because we have to pay people better salaries. We pay their health insurance, and all these things that run across the board that make our products more expensive than the pieces of crap we get from China that cost pennies on the dollar compared to what we make.
So how is this gonna ever but this will never,
how's it ever going to get fixed?
No, not get fixed.
I'm not an economist.
No, I'm not saying that, but there's no way to kind of like, okay, so we put a tariff on these guys, raise the price of these goods that we can call cheap or whatever we want to call them, but we use them. They're cheap enough for us. We can kind of almost throwaway cheap.
They're cheaper because they get to use cheap labor over there. Somebody gets paid 50 cents over there to make stuff for us. But I mean, think about it. Nike shoes, it costs them, I think it's like $20 to make them shoes each, but they charge you like $200 over here anyways. And that's not because of tariffs. It's just because of greed. So I mean, if they're going to make the shoes over here, that would make some sense, because if they're going to charge you that, they might as well pay people a living wage. But I don't know, man. There's a lot. Even when I was a little kid, I used to have GI Joes, and on the back of that, it said, on the back of the ass, it said "Made in Taiwan." So I don't see, I don't see the wages going up enough for people to actually, for all this stuff to be made in America. I just don't see that happening. They wouldn't even raise wages when people are telling them, hey, we can't afford this rent, we can't afford these groceries. So I don't see how these jobs are going to come back to America and they're going to raise wages. What I see is like an influx of robots probably coming in to create and build everything.
That's where it's going to go anyway, D-Mac. I mean, you can't get away from it. AI is going to take over a lot. I mean, you can go out. For me, I use Copilot. I'm not going to lie. When I go look stuff up, I use Copilot, and that shit works. If I have something I'm doing at work where I need an answer, I can Copilot, and bam, that shit comes up like that.
Yeah, I was against AI. I used it last week, and I was like, "Hey, Copilot, make me an image of this, and that." And they're like, "Oh, you want this one or this one?" I was like, "Oh, crap, okay."
I did that too. It gave me. I was looking for a logo for a motorcycle event we're having here later on this year, and I was like, "Hey, Copilot, show me a motorcycle event and make it for our town," and it was great. It really worked out nice, but what I look at, and I've seen a lot of, even over the weekend, I've seen on the news and in different articles I've read where AI is, we're that close. We're that close to people just getting laid off. My company itself, we had a meeting this past week where we're saying, hey, we need to start, delving into AI more because we're paying too much money.
So
that's eventually where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Well, my job too. They changed
even when we sit back and we kind of look at the entire picture of this happening too. So with the same thing he's saying, the manufacturing jobs be brought back to America. So so those same manufacturing jobs, we all agree here that within 5 to 10 years will all be automated jobs. So those jobs will not come back here. Most of them, probably 90% of them. Let's just, I mean, we look at Amazon, these other places. We look at the factory in China where they have a dark factory and they're creating cars. They don't need people. Let's just be real. So we're basically forcing jobs allegedly back over here with high tariffs on everyone across the world. They're not reciprocal. They're tariffs that Israel dropped all their tariffs on America, and we still put tariffs on them anyways, And so these are like bad faith tariffs on the world for what end? Is not to bring jobs back, because we all agree those jobs will be manufacturing jobs and they won't be here. People, if they don't need us for something, I'm not going to hire a person if I don't need them for something. It doesn't make sense.
Shoot, I went to Wendy's the other day, and it was that person at the window, or when I'm ordering for the menu, it's hi, this is blah blah blah. It was the AI taking my order, and I was like, damn, and it still got my order wrong. I was so mad. I've been talking crap about them workers can't be. I was waiting for them to be replaced by robots, and the robot did me dirty.
So somebody was kind of saying that they feel like this could be a play for him also to try and get his way with interest rates. Because when you do something like this, the Fed has to go into like quantitative easing or something, but it doesn't. But it hurts us long term. It puts us into another inflationary cycle that we just were in.
That's possible. But I've heard a few economists say that if they do lower the interest rates, I think it would bring Trump around to lowering those taxes or taking them off the table, because that's where we need to start getting there.
He tweeted to Jerome Powell, like, yeah, he said this would be a perfect time for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. He's always late, but he could now change his image and quickly. Energy prices are down, interest rates are down, inflation is down, even eggs are down 69%, and jobs are up, all within 2 months. A big win for America. Cut interest rates, Jerome, and stop playing politics. And he's right. He did have a good jobs report.
Yeah,
but everybody's scrambling. Think about it. You fire enough people, they got to get another job. And then everybody sitting around not doing nothing was realizing, man, they're coming for me finally. So
the jobs numbers aren't going to really hit. They're showing the end of the month, end of March, like kind of all the people who went and had to apply for unemployment. The next month's job numbers will kind of show a little bit more of what he's done, because it's not like they all were fired immediately. It took time kind of for it to sift through, because a lot of them were not even, the process hadn't even gone through yet. And they're still fighting to kind of keep a lot of them on the job. So we'll see on the next jobs numbers. If it continues to be positive, that's always a good thing. You can't.
I know one job number that'll go down. That's government workers.
Yeah. And I couldn't just sit around there and be like, okay, you're hired. No, you're fired. Now you're hired again. Now you're fired. No, you already let me go. I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. Like I'd hate to live in that kind of limbo.
But the problem with that is you unless you have a skill set, a good skill set to where you can go out and figure out get it right away. Yeah, you almost don't want to leave, especially government jobs. Government jobs you get all kinds of perks with government jobs.
I mean,
you don't do anything. And they're paying these people to not do anything.
I think that's a tall order to be able to say that.
I know lots of government job people, and they don't do anything.
I know a lot of
go back to work.
I know a lot of people working in the private sector that really don't do a lot either. You know what I mean? Like it's that's most people, but I think that's most jobs. We think we just sit back and look at them and kind of point at them and say, you're not doing anything, because they have more of a secure job than any of the rest of us do. Most times they would have.
Government jobs are hard to get fired from what I've always heard.
That's true.
Yes, they are.
When you're in, you're in. It takes a lot for people to get fired from a government job. I mean, that's what I've always heard. I've heard friends of mine who have government jobs say the same thing, even though they still have their jobs. I've got a buddy who's a network security guy who, he's had a job with the government for 22 years now or something like that. And, he got all the emails about what he does with his job and the whole 9 yards. And, they made him go back into the office after however many years now. He complained a little bit, but he said it's no different than prior to COVID. It's a job to them. But they get better benefits than I do. I get paid well. I get great benefits and lots of time off.
Really good benefits, really good pay. And my mom used to say that too. Like what happened? Yeah, my Wi-Fi's acting up. My mom said the same thing. She's like, a lot of people just be sitting there. Be like, what do you do? They'd be like, I don't know. I kind of just do this and shuffle paperwork.
I mean, this is what I could really say about it too. I mean, just getting back onto the tariff thing too, because I feel like government workers do a lot. I think there's a lot that gets done by government workers. I think we just don't have a full understanding. It's a lot easier for us to point at them and kind of point them out like, you guys don't do anything. Fire all the government workers, because it's going to be reciprocal. It's not just going to be government jobs. There's going to be a lot of other jobs that fall off because of those people who lost their government jobs. It's a lot of money taken out of communities when you fire government workers because they're buying things, they're purchasing things. And they actually do have decent paying jobs. But just getting back into the tariff situation, I think we've taken it too lightly. I mean, I know that we don't want to talk about that. I know that's kind of like it's a negative subject, but it's what's happening right now. I mean, we just watched literally probably 7,000 points come off the Dow. That's a lot. I saw people who lost a lot of money, hundreds of thousands, like I'm saying, in their stock portfolio quickly. And it's basically like he's playing it like, who cares? Well, this is part of the pain that I told you guys it would be coming. But the pain only seems to be coming from people who the working class. Or we could say the wealthy, they lost money too in the stock market, which a lot of them did, but they also gained a lot of money. It's different for them.
But your average everyday person that works out there is not involved in the stock market. It's not. I mean, unless you have a 401k.
I mean, a lot of people have some type of retirement.
You are involved in the stock market, but your average everyday worker is not. They're not actively out there purchasing, buying, selling stocks. So ultimately your retirement will be affected. Yes.
And that's
your everyday life, your paycheck is still there. Your job is still there right now. I mean, my life is not going into the crapper because of tariffs, right? Your life's not going into the crapper because of tariffs. Is it hurting us at the top end of it? Yeah. There is that pain.
We can't say that yet because we have not saw the cost of the tariffs. We have not saw the price of the tariffs. Once people, we need to see that price. That price is going to come in.
I see my 401k dropping.
No, that's one thing. That's the cost of it from stocks. Now
I think we'll start to see it by the end of April. If anything, because you can think about most of the stuff that they already shipped over here is already here. So it'll take about a week, maybe 2 weeks for everything to start kicking in. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see prices of stuff. I mean, I'm already at the store thinking, I go to get my deodorant, it's $8 now. I'm like, I'm just gonna steal this. Who's gonna stop me? I mean, my deodorant used to be $3, now it's $8. And they can charge.
Oh, that was before tariffs.
That was
everybody is stealing it. Your price is going up.
Yeah, well, I went to Fred Meyer the other day and they had all the detergent under lock and key. I said, come to this, huh? They locked that up and they lock up the Legos.
Do you think that with the Republicans kind of voting against them, have you heard about that when the Senate Republicans, how they basically came against them, kind of like, hey, we're going to try to get rid of the tariffs on Canada. I mean, hey, we don't want to vote for that. It's like four Senate Republicans sided with the Democrats to say that, they don't want tariffs on Canada.
Well, Canada hit us with the 25% tariff on the energy, on the power they're sending. Like, hey, we can squeeze you too. But I saw that the center, they're trying to take that tariff power away from him, but it's too late. You've created this monster. You've given him the power of a king. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to exercise that power. And I don't see anyone stopping him. They can try, and he's just going to stop them. If you got the FBI, you got the DOJ, you can have these people tangled up in court for years with, just crazy crimes you say they did. You could just make up stuff. You know how the Democrats do. They'll go find a woman and be like, hey, say this person did something to you. The woman will come out and say something. That was their playbook for a while. And that's how they got rid of the mayor of New York. And then when it comes out, oh, she was lying, well, don't worry, ma'am. We're never going to charge you because we want victims to still come forward. But this man's life's been ruined. So, I mean, there's a lot of tactics that he can try, he can do and divulge to them. I mean, like, especially what he has over Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham just needs to come out. He'll never be elected again, but he just needs to come out. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, just like at the end
it's a new world. It's a new world.
It's a new world, Lady G. Let it out.
There's plenty of gay people on the Republican side of the house now.
How many? I haven't seen any.
I know
at least two. Who? Lindsey Graham and that guy that he was an ambassador for in Trump's first administration. I can't remember his last name, but at least we have two.
But Lindsey Graham hasn't come out yet. I don't think, because if he did, where's he from? Kentucky? No, he's not from Kentucky.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. National intelligence person. What's her name? Tulsi Gabbard. She's gay.
Oh yeah, no, everyone's okay with women being gay. Everyone wants to watch that. I'm just being honest. Like, ain't nobody tripping. Oh, two women holding hands. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Because dudes still get that in there.
But to go back to tariffs a little bit. So in days gone by, that was the way to economically boost revenue in the country. That's why Democrats wanted it during Clinton's era, and even there's video of Chuck Schumer out there talking about tariffs and they're too low. And so, I mean, it is a cyclical thing. It goes in waves over the years. And Trump is sitting there. Yeah, has he maybe gone overboard a little bit? A skosh, I think a skosh, a little bit, maybe a little bit more than a little bit.
Yeah,
but again, it's early. We don't know what the effects are going to be yet. We know what the short-term effects have been, but we really don't know. Tariffs are long. You have to wait months and months to see where that goes. It's not a week-to-week thing. It's what they call the long game, right? You got to wait for the long game to play out.
We've watched some of the things that he's done before with tariffs. I mean, don't get me wrong. When they're talking about tariffs back then, they're talking about our manufacturing. They were giving away our manufacturing base at that point in time. That's why they were talking about it.
We still are doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
that hasn't changed over the last 30 years.
I mean, I would say we had a slight uptick in manufacturing under Biden. I think he created almost 1 million new manufacturing jobs under his administration. So don't get me wrong. That's not to say that we did not give away our manufacturing base way back in the 80s and the 90s. This is the videos that they keep bringing up. We were seeing all the Democrats coming out saying, hey, tariffs work, because they're talking about tariffs on companies that were basically taking our auto jobs, taking all the, that's what they're talking about at the time. They're not talking. I mean, so when they try to bring it up now, it's kind of disingenuous, but it's disingenuous when we step outside of the countries, kind of like Canada, maybe Germany, a few of those countries like that really are taking auto jobs from us, because a lot of people are building their cars here. Toyota has many plants in this country.
We have a Kia plant right up the road from me.
And so it's kind of like when they try and bring that up, that was talking about a different time and a different thing. China is a much more egregious, when it comes to tariffs and when it comes to them basically trying to lock us out of their markets. They're way more egregious than, say, a country like Vietnam, or a country I think we put 40% tariffs or 35% tariffs on them, something ridiculous. I mean, and then he's using it as a weapon more than as a tool to kind of get what he needs. It's just the way he's going about it.
I don't look at that as a weapon. I look at that as a negotiating tool. Because he did that in his first term, right? In his first 4 years, he bumped up tariffs to use as a negotiating tool. That's why he got Mexico and Canada in his first term to start keeping illegals out of the country. That was part of the deal for that. They did that. I forget what that trade agreement was that they did, but it had something to do. You saw the president of Mexico immediately, jump on that and start pushing people back. It wasn't until
it was the same trade deal that. Go ahead.
No, he did it different. What Trump did, which I agreed with him in his first term. He was like, "Look, you can wait in Mexico until we accept you in. You can't just come in, you get a court date, and you disappear into America and never show back up for your court date. That's why we have 20 million illegal people here now." And so, I mean, they're having trouble still rounding them up. I mean, I want to ask you guys a question. How do you feel about the gentleman that was deported to Venezuela? They found out that he wasn't supposed to be deported. Now the administration is fighting to let him not come back in. Like they're saying, hey, a judge just ruled like, hey, you need to bring him back because he shouldn't have been sent in the first place. And they're like, look, we don't think we have to bring him back.
No, because from what I've read and what I've heard, he was an MS-13 guy. And he technically was not in this country legally.
No, he was in this country legally.
He seeked asylum.
He was here legally, and he wasn't an MS-13 guy either. They tried to take him to court, for saying that he was MS-13. He was not found guilty of that. A guy tried to point him out and say that
he was in front of Home Depot waiting for some work, and ICE ran. This was 2019. They ran up on a group of people, and one of the other guys was trying to get out of getting taken by ICE. He was like, "Hey, well, this guy's MS-13," but it was proven that he wasn't. But it was just there on the paperwork, so it was an error, and so that's why they grabbed him up. But I mean, he was here seeking asylum, and he had like real fear of going back, that's why he was allowed to stay.
And a judge had already granted him the right to stay in the country. I mean, and it not proven ever that he was MS-13, and that's just what JD Vance pretty much brought up, said it out loud so everyone else can say it and kind of repeat it, but it's not true. And then now they deported him, and a judge is like, hey, you need to bring him back now. And like, oh, we can't get him back. And so his attorney's trying to get it so that the government has to stop funding his stay down in El Salvador, while he's down that Mega Max prison or whatever that is down there. And so they're basically just saying they're not going to bring him back. But this is exactly what they've been trying to get themselves to do anyways. When it comes time to, okay, we don't really want to do what a judge says. We just do what we want. And if a judge orders it, make him liable for going and enacting his own order without,
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. At what point did we stop letting judges legislate from the bench? I mean, we have.
What do you mean?
We have seen it over the last few weeks where the Dems will sit there and shop for a liberal judge or somebody that wants to take their side.
I don't agree with them. Yeah.
But I mean, we're saying legislate from the bench. I mean, to put an order on something, really, I mean, he's basically governing from the executive by executive order. I mean, totally trying to govern by executive order.
And is that not allowed?
No, executive order. The things that he's doing are not allowed. They're not. When it comes time for him to say, hey, I want to cut these government jobs and I'm going to pay you to leave, he can't do that. He has to go back in front of Congress, in front of the Ways and Means Committee, and get that verified that he can even pay a person.
Why can't you fire somebody from a job if they're not performing well?
The way they didn't even do a non-perform. It wasn't non-performance. That's another thing too. A judge even ruled on that and said it wasn't because of non-performance. You're not even giving. It was just you came in. I'm going to lay off all these people right here.
You can fire anybody. Period. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Well, yeah. Well, as you see,
first it doesn't have
like you said, it's really hard. It's really hard to get fired from government jobs. Like they have contracts, they have unions, and a lot of, and you can see at first when they were firing people, they're like, oh, wait, your job is important. We need you to come back. And for me, like I said, I'm not going to be in limbo. Like you let me go, I'm going to get my unemployment. I'm going to go find work somewhere else. Like for me, it's like I've been a driver for 18 years, and I was like, I need to get away, and so I changed professions. I was like, I can't drive anymore. It's not working out for me. I don't like driving at night. I can't see the signs far away. My back is killing me. So, I mean, everybody can change professions if they want to, but I know there's like a lot of private sector jobs. And they even said China was reaching out to a lot of government employees that were fired. Like, hey, we can hire you over here and have you do this. So at some point it's going to be a national security concern, but what do I know?
I mean, it's a government job to me is no different than any job in the private sector. Some may be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe a little bit more specialized than what you would get as a normal government employee. But a person sitting at the local IRS here in my town, they do have a function, but are there not other people to do that function somewhere else? Right. I mean, there's a lot of duplication of jobs that in any corporation, if you see that, they do that stuff. So I mean, to me, firing somebody.
Yeah, I think the IRS workers are like the social people.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on where the jobs are at and what community. I mean, I know they're making it harder for Social Security. They're closing a lot of their buildings and firing people, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But I mean, like, once again, it's an attack on seniors and it's an attack on children because it's just, it feels like the poor are getting left on the back burner. But once again, we had chances to fix this. Like, you had Obama in there for 8 years. He had a chance to fix it. You had Joe Biden in there for 4 years. He had a chance to fix it. And you had Trump in there for 4 years. He had a chance to fix it. Nobody fixed it. So now we're at the point where, the poor got poor and the rich got richer. And now it's just going to be just a whole thing where everything's just doubling down on everybody. So, I mean, I don't blame what he's doing right now because our government had plenty of time to fix it and correct stuff and actually make it affordable to live in America. Because at the point right now, America is just a 1995 Ford Taurus on 20-inch rims. It looks nice until you get inside. I
mean, even
and try and turn that thing around the corner.
Yeah,
man. Even just talking about the original question too. At the same time, was like you say that basically you feel like a person should be able to take. You said not legislating from the bench, pretty much, right? You don't want judges legislating from the bench. You think that's what they're doing? It's been going on forever. This is kind of the quid pro quo of kind of.
Well, now hold on. Look at how many injunctions there have been against Trump's executive orders as opposed
how many
to other
how many
presidents
executive
over the
orders
years?
has he I mean, he's come out with a
64
lot of.
injunctions.
I think I
64
think he's had like 300. I think the first day he came in, he had 300 executive orders, something crazy, 100 and something at least. You know, I mean, some ridiculous amount. And,
But still,
and he's reaching into things that he's not supposed to. Even the Republicans came out and said, you don't have the power to do the things that you're doing. And that's why they went against. We got people like Chuck Grassley. Chuck Grassley's an old school Republican. You know, he's the old guard. You know, for him to come out and say, I'm going against you. For guys like, you know, who do you got there? What's the libertarian's name? Rand Paul.
For what issue are you talking about?
Over tariffs. That was over tariffs, over the tariff issue. That's just
are you trying to say that the president doesn't have that power to do tariffs?
I'm not saying. I think a lot of it is just
that's the part of the executive branch that does have that power.
I think that he's going around.
Make that into law. Yeah, they can take that and they can create a law against it. But here's the problem: Trump can just veto that crap, and it has to go back again. 2/3 of the majority of Congress have to vote for it to make it go through, and that won't happen.
Yeah, it'll be tough for him to get that. But I think that what they're doing right now is pushing back. They pushed back against the Republicans even in the House. I mean, you had Mike Johnson. He just came out with they tried to get a bill passed to where you had to appear, even if you had a pregnancy or you just gave birth or whatever the case may be, you had to appear in chambers to vote. And his own party went against him on that. I think like 7 Republicans sided with Democrats to go against. This is 2 times back to back that they're showing like, hey, you know what? We're going to actually take votes on these things. They were trying to get rid of the same thing you're talking about, where they're saying that judges are legislating from the bench. However, this is the way this country has been ran. It's like we're ready to cut ties of everything right now, but over what he's doing, but we wouldn't have done this before. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me when we're sitting back talking about something like that. Like, why is it now all of a sudden so different than before when this was been going on all throughout history? This is the way our government
works.
A
lot of it is that now. A lot of it is because it's impeding his agenda, right? And that he wants to get stuff done and he can't because his hands are tied because there's a court order because there's a judge that doesn't like what he's doing.
Why isn't because he's going about it the wrong way. These are things that he should be doing by legislation.
That's your opinion.
So that's why they can take it to court.
Was Joe Biden wrong for going against the Supreme Court about forgiving student loans when he specifically went back and said, "Oh no, we're still going to get this done"?
Okay, but they still had to legislate it, had to take it through the process.
No, they didn't. He had an executive order. That's what he did. Let
me say this though. Yeah, but then the Republicans came back, took it through the courts. The courts took it down, right or wrong. If it didn't go the right way, this is the right process to do it, right? Through the courts. If you don't think that the president's doing his job, doing what he's supposed to be doing, it's not legal what he's doing, you take it through the courts. Correct? Or they should just not be courts in order to be able to say whether this is right or wrong.
I don't think a district judge should have that power.
Who should have it then? Just the president himself?
A district judge is part of a district. That's his own district. He shouldn't have the power to come across the whole federal government system and say, no, you can't do that.
That's the process you take, though, as far as getting into the Supreme Court, correct? This is the proper step. It's always been like this.
But but you go through that. What they do, they went to the DC appeals court. And I will say this, 2 out of the 3 justices on that DC appeals court sided with that first judge. And that's for the deportation, that Bozgard or whatever his name is. I didn't agree with his ruling to begin with because the president has every right to deport who he wants to. I mean, that's not true. That's not true. Yes,
how does the president have every right?
Who's the deporter in chief, Wesley? Who's the deporter in chief?
That has nothing to do whether you have the right or not to do it. That's like you just said that the president should be able to have every right to deport anyone he wants to in this country. Anybody.
No. Anybody that's illegally in the country, yes.
But this person wasn't illegally in the country. He had a court order keeping him here.
I'm not talking about him specifically.
But we have to talk. No, but we have to talk about that because we don't know who are on those planes. He just admitted they deported people. They said it knowingly. They knowingly.
Have you seen the pictures of the gang members sitting in
they said we have knowingly.
Photo ops. I've talked to Wesley about this too. It's like, Trump loves to show off his trophies. If he's done something, he'll parade it in front of everybody. And if he wanted to, if it was all these people were gang members, he would have had them. He would have had someone like, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. This guy is the leader of this side of the gang, and this guy's this one. There's a reason they don't want that gentleman to come back. because once he opens his mouth and he tells them about what happened to him down there, how he got snatched up, who was all on the plane, because you only heard a little bit, because the women that had to come back from there, because the jail wouldn't take the women, they were like, look, they had everyone shackled up, and they were forcing the men in there to sign paperwork saying that they were from this gang, but they weren't. You know, and that's just a little bit of her story. Imagine what this guy has to say. Imagine what happened to him, because he shouldn't have got deported. You know what I'm saying? If you were seeking asylum,
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but I mean, when he comes back, imagine his story. What is he going to say? And that's going to make them look bad. I mean, they're not going to care, but still, it's going to show some probably inhumane treatment.
We don't even.
But I mean, if you look at it in the context of these are criminal illegals. Now, I'm not exclude that one case. Okay, if they are truly criminal illegals, why shouldn't they be deported?
Well, they haven't really
don't know who they are. They have not told us who. Go ahead.
They haven't really. No, they really haven't got all the criminal illegals. Like the ones they're snatching up. They're like, you know, people are like, oh, they're coming in here. They're not working. They're finding them at jobs. They're catching them at court hearings. I have a lady that I talked to. She has 2 kids that are from, I think they're from Mexico or Venezuela, one of the 2. But they came up here to seek asylum. And what the Trump administration did, they fired the judges or the lawyers, so the kids didn't have lawyers to represent them. And she was really nervous. Like, the kids had to go to court this Thursday, and somehow they found them a lawyer. Some guy did it pro bono, and they pushed the court case to July. You know, so, but he's not rounding up all the criminals yet. He's rounding up, I mean, it's people that are working, they have jobs, they know how to find them. You know what I'm saying? The criminals aren't working up here. They're doing illegal stuff.
You know, and
I told Wesley how I thought they should
be rounded up. Where do you get those facts from? I don't understand that. If you look at those guys sitting in that cell, they got the big ass MS-13 on their chest.
But they're not showing. They're showing you people who the people are sitting in those cells. They know they already had 60,000 people of their own down in those cells as well.
I want you to show me. I want to see some hard facts. That these guys aren't criminals being sent down.
Hold on. Wait. What it should be saying is that we want to see hard facts as they are. How about that one? Don't you?
Do you want me to go ahead and pull some names? I can pull some names.
Yeah. I'd rather. He didn't even give us names. They didn't even give names of the people who they sent. They didn't tell anyone who they sent. That was the problem. There was no like due diligence. There's a process to send people out of the country. No one's saying not to send. No one's saying not to send.
ICE and the immigration service didn't know who these people were.
They did not divulge it to anyone else. They didn't divulge it to the public. They didn't tell anyone.
I'm sorry, Wesley. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be in the know.
Not me personally. I don't think probably even the judges don't even know. No one knows who. I mean, if only ICE knows this. Only ICE knows who they are, and they're
here illegally. If they're here illegally, why are they here in the country?
Okay, so we don't know. Okay, first of all, if you have one person whose family's already spoke out and said, you took my son, he was here legally, a judge has already ordered for this person to come back. Who knows how many more there are? Because we don't know who they took. We have no idea who these people took at all.
That is not for us to know. That is not for us. Why would you want? Why? I don't understand why you need to know that specifically.
You know what? I don't need to know, but someone, I would say like this: a judge, like whatever the process is that we have in this country. Because to me, if you can just pluck anyone off the street and send them out the country without anyone, that could be it. We don't know if they're American citizens that they took. We don't have any idea what happened. We just don't know, and we're okay with not knowing. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, like that makes me more afraid to say, you know what? They might just be grabbing anybody and saying, you know what, you're a part of this. We don't. They pulling over anybody. We've heard about it. I mean, it's happening. So why wouldn't we want to know that as American citizens?
Well, you see here in Bellingham, they arrested.
Go ahead.
Well, here in Bellingham, you know, they arrested 31 people working at this roofing company. You know what I'm saying? They're all at work, and they said supposedly, you know, they fraudulently represented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents. But that's like, okay, it was over 30 people. They arrested them at work. You know what I'm saying? They were working, building houses. Like, they weren't criminals.
And whether they were here legally or not.
Well, hold on.
A couple days.
Matt, go back to what you just said. They had fraudulent what?
Paperwork. I mean, to me,
they said I'm not fraudulently represented their immigration status.
I'm not defending that. I'm not defending that part right there. I'm not defending that part.
It is. I'll agree.
Yeah, I'm not defending whether or not those people were here legally. If they weren't here
in this country, over the fucking river or over a wall is here illegally. They did not go to a port of call to go get their asylum paperwork. They are here legally. They have broken the first law of the federal government that is not coming into this country legally.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that point at all. I think that's a moot point. I think we understand that. I agree. Okay, that's fine. But when you're saying that you don't want to know who they're grabbing up, that is concerning, because I feel
it's not for me to know. I'm not the one who has to go out there and do it. I'm not the one putting my life on the line because I'm having to go pick up a gangbanger.
So only they should know allegedly who this gangbanger is, because that's we can attribute gangbangers.
The ones that do know,
but the people that we actually do know who's been sent out for sure, for a fact, were not a gang member, and they were here legally. That's for a fact. I don't know who do you know who was sent out on these planes that you can say for a fact is illegal.
I don't know, because I don't know their criminal records. They have criminal records.
Nobody knows this though.
But that's what I'm saying. Donald Trump, like I said, he likes to show off his work. And so he wouldn't mind, like I'm saying, if they were, every last one of them was gang members, he would have them all lined up and they would be saying the names, what gang they're in, what crimes they did, to show the American people, like, hey, this is who we're getting out of here. And for them to hide that, it doesn't make sense. It's like, look,
I don't think they're hiding it, to be honest with you, because I guarantee you there's got to be a list somewhere that you can gather up.
Are all the people innocent? Like, migrants? No, they're not. They're probably rounding up people with criminal records, and they need to. If you're here illegally, you shouldn't be. I mean, if you're not an American citizen, you shouldn't be here committing crimes. You shouldn't be here talking bad about the government. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to have the same rights as us because you're not here legally, and I get that. And I've talked with Wesley before. I was pissed off when they were in New York and they were stepping over the veterans and the homeless people to house these migrants and stuff. They were just coming into America. I remember once I had to go get TANF for 2 months, and I remember there's a lady sitting next to me. We're all filling out paperwork, and they're like, lady's like, you have an issue? She's like, I don't know how to read English. She could speak it, but she didn't know how to read it. And I was like, how are you even? She's like, yeah, I'm from Mexico. I think I'm just going to be a translator. I'm like, how are you even here? Like, I paid into the system my whole life. So I can understand the frustration, but we also have criminals here that we're really not doing anything about either.
Okay. You want to list the people? Names of Venezuela or El Salvador,
and let us know. I mean, when this happened, and
this was recently. This is as of March. This is a article written CBS News, March 20th. CBS News reached out to DHS and the State Department for comment on the list, right? And there's a list. I mean, it's a long ass list of people that were taken up.
So does this include everybody who they just said they're not telling us who they were?
I don't know. I don't know if it's those people.
You know what I'm saying? There's probably tens of thousands of people already who have been snatched up and probably taken. To me, it's not about me knowing. Go through the process. I would love for us to be. If I know the process of being put out there, because you got to put out paperwork is public. No matter what, when you go through all that, it's public paperwork. Anyone can go find it. Lawyers can go find. Anyone can go online and find the paperwork. Right. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that. I think the worst part is when I try to get put in a situation to where I'm defending someone coming here illegally, but that's not what I'm defending. I'm defending. Go through the process. Go through the correct process. Don't try to overstep the process.
Okay, yeah, you're right. People that come to this country illegally, that right there is their first mistake, because they immediately are criminals.
Okay, period. But
and so why don't you deport criminals?
That is true.
We need to look at nobody's saying that you cannot. No one's saying that you can't, but there's a process to it, no matter what. Because
you get picked up and you sent out.
You get picked up and you get sent out. That's the process. I mean,
it's not the process though, but it's not. I mean, that it's not the process that we've ever used. We'll pick you up and send you out. That's never been the process. That's saying
the process Obama used, back in his.
No, it's not. He deported a lot of people, but no one's against illegal people being deported. I think we're using that as a crutch, because we really want to say we want Trump to have all power. This is what it's really kind of boiling down to, because the two things we're saying right here.
It's because Biden let 11 million people in the country illegally.
We don't know if he let 11 million people in or not. Yes, this is what we're being told. We don't know that. We don't know that.
Not see all those people crossing over the border?
So that was you saw 11 million. I'm just saying we don't know this. So to me, I feel like we don't. Go ahead.
You are definitely living in a fantasy world if you don't think that Biden let in 11 million people. In this country illegal.
I don't think any of us know that. Is what I'm saying to you. We don't.
We know the numbers. We know the numbers.
And you know what's crazy? I thought the Trump administration at first would only just deport like
20 million.
You know, honestly, I see the article. I thought at first he would just like deport people from like, you know, my brown countries or whatever. But you see people from like Germany and France, and he's deporting everybody. Like there's people that try to come in the country. They're like, nope. They came in, something was funky. They held them for like a day or two and then deported them right back. Canadians are getting deported back. Like they're not playing with anybody. So I'm like, I'm cool with that. As long as you're getting everybody out, I'm fine with it. You know what I'm saying? If the world's got to crumble around me while it happens, it's not that bad. I've been here before.
Yeah, but like basically, like I'm saying, more than anything else, though, that's the major thing. If I feel like we're trying to overstep norms in order to give him power that he doesn't have, that's the sense. Seems like
deportation. Deportation is not overstepping norms. Deportation is the norm for people.
Nobody's saying deportation. No one said it's not. See, that's where you keep on trying to bite on that point. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to bite on the. I'm not making the point of people should not be deported. I'm saying give us the names. Go through the channels. You don't even got to give us a name. If you go through the proper channels, it'll give you the name. It'll tell you what's going on. Hey, this guy, he's going to be deported, going through deportation process, because you don't just grab somebody and deport him. This doesn't work like that. There's paperwork that has to be done. So we know when you came over here before, everything else to the process. You understand the process. It's normal. No one's saying that there needs to be some big long.
The process.
No, you try to oversimplify the process in order to make it seem like I want them to stay here for some other reason. Like I don't want them to be deported as well. When I do, that's not what we're saying. I think that then you say you want judges to no longer be able to legislate. I mean, not legislate. I'm sorry, no longer be able to judge on the bench the way that's been going on since the beginning of the since the beginning of the union.
But the issue around it is that these people that were sent out on planes, a judge doesn't have the right. I mean, okay, let's look at it this way. He used the Aliens Act of 1789, right? And we talked about this before.
Which is a wartime act.
Right. No, it's not. Read it very carefully. Read that whole act very carefully. It's not just wartime. Okay. But the issue is, even when was it Truman that tried to use it after World War II? It came under scrutiny, and basically the Supreme Court said it is outside of judicial review. Okay, that is the crux of that argument. That's what Trump uses. It's outside of judicial review, which was held up by the Supreme Court. But again, this judge made it seem like it's his job to go against
I'm gonna have to go back and look through that again to kind of get more information on that, because I know that people have said that it is a wartime act, but it may not, like you said, it may not be fully just only used for war, because he's obviously trying to find a loophole to use it in peacetime. I mean, no matter what, or calling this.
Well, they did that. That's what happened after World War II was over. They tried to send a bunch of Germans back, and they were told, no, you can't do that because we're no longer at war. But it still fell under part of that Aliens Act of 1789. So I mean, that's why it came under scrutiny back then.
So if he like back to so if he does something that needs to go through a judicial process to see if it is correct by law, how do you get there? Do you have to just wait and not do it at all? Like, how would you get there? Because it starts off with district courts, and then you go from there. This is how it always happens. He wanted this playbook to play out this way because he knows he has the Supreme Court. He was hoping that they would be more friendly towards him. Who knows? In the future, they may be when it comes to big
issues. May not be, because you
never know.
The last couple things that have come down
from
the Supreme Court. Yeah, because Amy Coney Barrett has taken a lot of heat over some of her decisions recently.
Yeah, I mean, you got Roberts too.
Camper with her.
I mean, you got Roberts too. Roberts
has always been wishy-washy ever since he got put in there.
Roberts. I think he sometimes puts America first. That's what he really does. I think being wishy-washy and knowing that when someone's doing something they have no business doing, like when he came out and he tried to get rid of Obamacare the first time. Roberts was the person who helped strike it. I mean, this guy, when you have someone in office, even Amy Coney Barrett, she's looking at this. She's hopefully starting to see the light on the process of, okay, this guy's he's basically trying to get rid of the judicial system of the United States, the legislative branch of the United States, and say, I can do whatever I want. I have all power to do whatever. And people are starting to, people are acting like he truly, would really want to give him that power. It's just,
but there's also precedent involved, because prior to his, you look at all the how many did Joe Biden sign executive orders and reverse a bunch that Trump had? I mean, it was a lot. I mean, he signed a crap ton of executive orders. Okay, but that's every president. Every president uses that power because that power is given to him by the Constitution.
I think that Trump kind of started using it in a way that tried to reverse things from the last administration, like a lot. I'm not saying no president's ever done that, but he was the one he's basically made this now from now until the end of time, that pretty much you're going to come in and wash out the entire whatever that previous administration did.
Biden did it with the Remain in Mexico policy, right? The executive order that Trump signed, the Remain in Mexico policy that he signed first day.
Got rid of a lot of them.
One of the first ones he did.
He got rid of a lot of them.
I mean, and that's why I don't like executive orders. I don't think that I'm, hooray for executive orders. That's not the case. None of those executive orders, not Trump's, not Biden's, should be binding legally, because they should have to go through a process where Congress
legislative process exactly. And that's
I agree with you.
You can't in our the way our government doesn't function anymore, they have to go through executive orders because they can't agree on anything. It's like
they can't agree on anything.
You got the House and the Senate. You got the House and the Senate. You got the House and the Senate right now.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Even when Biden had the House and the Senate, he couldn't get stuff passed.
You know how many bills? That's this. Hold on. You know how many things Biden got passed, the chips, for all the different laws that he got done.
There's also things he didn't get through.
There was a thing. There was a thing with the family. I think when they had Joe Manchin pulled out, it was a huge thing against basically middle class and lower. It hurt every American. However, he got a lot done. This guy has not gotten one thing passed. It's been 60-something days, 70 days. They haven't gotten one law done. I mean, you have the House and the Senate. You got both right now. There's both. There's a pretty.
But he has very narrow margins in both.
It doesn't matter. You got numbers, man. It's like either you rank up and get it done, or you don't. And he's not getting anything done. He knows he can't. He can't even get he basically couldn't even get a budget taken care of. He couldn't. Well, nothing.
Part of that. Okay, so let's go to that. What happens in the Senate when the Democrats don't want something to go through?
Filibuster.
Exactly.
You
need 60 votes for anything to get out of cloture, to even go through the process of being signed by the Senate.
The only thing these
didn't have 60 votes either.
You ever notice the only thing they all agree on is giving themselves raises?
Yeah.
Biden didn't have 60 votes either. And got.
He must have, because he got those laws passed, right? You need 60 votes to get it out of cloture, not to actually get it passed in law.
This is what I'm gonna say.
And that means coming out of committees and being reworked, and then they vote on if it goes to the floor or not. If not, the other side can filibuster.
There would have been no laws he would have got passed it off. He had to get 60 votes every single time to get anything done.
You have to go through cloture to get that on the floor.
I'm not absolutely sure if it's every single time 60 votes. I don't know if it's that every single time. I think if it's budget neutral, it may not be. I think you can bypass the filibuster with the budget neutral, like something that's neutral in spending versus what you're going to take in. I think you can bypass that process with that. And probably maybe a few other things too, but I'm not absolutely sure. However, and you think that he had 60 votes every single time? I think he only had 51. There was like a 51-49 lead.
No. Not to pass.
I understand to get the bill. I understand the first just to go through cloture. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But so that means that he had to have about 10 Republicans just vote and say, "Hey, we're going to let this bill even go for a vote." Every single time.
They must have, because they didn't filibuster. Not every single time. I'm sure there were things that they couldn't get through. But his big ones they got through, right?
You would get nothing passed if that were the process for every single. No president would ever get anything passed unless there were bipartisan bills.
How much stuff has gotten passed over the last few years? There's not a lot.
I would say Biden probably got at least about 5 or 6 strong accomplishments passed, like infrastructure bills, all kinds of stuff.
Because he got bipartisan support on that. But you're not going to get bipartisan support from the Democrats. That's never going to happen with Trump, because they want him to fail. Period.
Who came out with the "I want you to fail" conversation back in 2008? This was Mitch McConnell. You're going to be a one-term president. We're going to do everything we can to that's been what they've stood on from there on. And so it's been going on for a long time. I just don't see.
But it comes from both sides, and you can't deny that.
So he has, okay, yeah, it does. I'm not saying it doesn't, but he has a majority in the Senate, a majority in the House. Now we're going to give him a reason that he can't get. I don't think he has to have 60 votes just to even get it through cloture. I don't think he does, or nothing would ever get. It would be almost impossible.
We just had one within the last few weeks where he tried to get it through the Senate and they filibustered.
Well, was it for something that was not? Was it for something that was not budget neutral? Because if he can prove that these things are budget neutral, he doesn't. He can bypass the filibuster. You know, he can bypass the filibuster with that. But obviously,
I think a reconciliation bill, I think gets bypassed, can come through and not have to go through those standards. But I'd have to go back and look.
But that's a budget. That's a budgetary thing right there as well, too. So that's probably why. But I think he had some Democrats that sided with him on that, though. Some Democrats did. I think Schumer and a few others went with him on that to kind of get that passed to let the government.
No, function. Schumer did, but it still didn't go through cloture. It never made it out of cloture, so it never got through.
What happened was
that's why everybody was so pissed everybody was so pissed off at Schumer because of that. All the Dems were like, "Oh, he's got to go," and it still never made it out of cloture.
They passed that. What was it called? They passed that that bill, the kind of stopgap bill for the budget. They passed that. That actually got passed in the Senate with Democrat support. Just to kind of just to kind of keep the the quid pro quo going in the government as far as budget's concerned. Yeah, that was passed right there.
Yeah, I'm having connection issues on my end.
I can hear you guys.
I can hear you, Steve. He cut out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we were just like even just when we having the conversation, it's kind of like I'm noticing that we're getting to a point to where we're going to start hearing more and more just like, why doesn't he get to do his agenda? But that goes for every president. I feel like no president gets to come into office and just do what they want to do.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You got to go through the process. That's the biggest thing. You have to go through the process.
Steve is back. So let me ask you guys one more question before we wrap it up here. How close and when do you think we will start a ground assault war with Iran?
I think that we're fairly close to it. The only reason why I feel like we may not do it is because there's a lot of pressures from around the world for us not to do it. You know, you got pressures coming from Russia. You got pressures probably going to come in from China and other people in the region. But if we do, it's going to be due to the fact that this is what Benjamin Netanyahu wanted. He's been preaching about this since 1990s. On the House floor.
We don't even need to get involved. We don't need to get involved because if anything, Netanyahu can take out Iran if he wants to with one button.
Yeah, he has
nukes. And they've got a stronger army than Iran. If they wanted to go in and invade Iran, they could probably do it and be done with that.
But they got to cross Syria. I mean, they got to cross Syria. They got to cross Iraq. They got to cross countries that's not going to just let them walk through their countries. I mean, who you think that the Israeli army is going to want to walk through Iraq or Syria? I think they're softening Syria up. I mean, they're softening Syria. I mean, yeah, it would be a fight though. Because I think a lot of countries in the Middle East would unite against these people doing that, walking through. I mean, it would. You
wouldn't get Saudi Arabia would side with Israel before they side with Iran.
I know they're at odds. Oh, yeah. I know they're at odds as far as religious wise, but they'll come together before they ever allow something like it's already been done. That's almost a reason for the government of Saudi Arabia to be overthrown to a degree. I think there are people.
Then why did the Abraham Accords get signed?
It's a totally separate deal. It's not something that I'm saying that your aggression towards Iran is fine. Keep going over here and do that. I think that was something I'm saying. Hey, you know what? You have the right to exist. You have the right to exist, and I don't have a problem with you any further. I think that's what the Abraham Accords were more for. Because Saudi Arabia is like we're business. We're religious, yes, but we're business at the same time. And so this is a good business move. We don't want problems with Israel in the region. It doesn't make sense for us. You're here. You're not going anywhere. It is what it is. But to say that they're going to allow them to march through Syria and Iraq to reach Iran, just because he's a Shiite and the other one's Sunnis and Shiites. Do you think they're going to not fight for each other? But let them keep on. Go ahead and come through our motherland.
Why would they fight for each other when they've been fighting against each other for?
It happens like that though. I mean, they came together when Israel first came to to the Middle East. They came together. 5 countries joined forces together to fight against them who didn't even really have militaries at the time, strong at all militaries, but now they do. Now they do. Now they're a lot stronger. I'm not saying they can beat Israel, but I mean, because Israel's going to have to, they could beat Israel by themselves. If it was just Israel, we didn't have our help, all of our weaponry, everything we're giving them consistently, they could beat them. But I mean, without using nukes at the end of the day, if Israel uses nukes, it's a wrap over there. It's going to be a problem for the end. I mean, they would never use nukes. They barely want to tell people the stuff that they're doing in the region because they understand that it's going to bring hell down upon them in that region. So, I mean, we're going to have to be involved in something like that. If
we are not going to get involved in that war.
He's already said it.
There's nothing.
You haven't heard Trump say this?
No, he said he'll bomb the hell out of them.
Yeah, he said
we're send troops in there.
I mean, but the whole thing is, you say you're going to bomb somebody, and they're going to bomb us back, which is kind of crazy for him to say. Like he uses a lot of bully tactics.
How's Iran going to bomb us back?
They could.
We got troops in the region. We got troops in the region. They've done it before. They pushed buttons before. It would get a lot different. I mean,
but they're not going to hit us.
I mean, but I mean, if you kill our troops in the region, or if you're attacking our troops on a consistent basis, you're going to draw war with that. So if he bombs them for not coming to the table,
yes.
I mean, after the fact, though, it's like we do something to you, and there's a retaliation.
During Biden's administration. During Biden's administration, they attacked us a couple times and killed troops.
I think that the one time they got through the dome, the one time I think they killed a couple troops in, and we.
No, when they were, I
don't think it was Iran. I don't think it was Iran. I don't think it was Iran.
That was the Taliban, I believe, because that was after they pulled out. There were still some troops in the region. I remember that. Like they hit a base and they bombed it bad, and a couple soldiers died in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that would be detrimental to Trump's presidency if something happened to a missile from some foreign country hit America and took out American lives. Like, you see how bad every year we commemorate 9/11, and that would just be devastating to him. But you know, it's one thing for him to say, hey, you need to take this nuclear program, or I'm going to bomb you. Bomb you. You've never seen bomb them before, and they're like, do what the fuck you got to do. Like, he can bully everyone in America because that works out. We're stuck with him, but everyone else around the world is like, they're kind of like Wes was saying a couple days ago. It's like they're calling his bluff. They're like, do something. The only country I've seen that's going to do is tariffs or negotiate right now. I'm seeing on the news is Zimbabwe. They're like, yo, we'll do 0% tariffs on America. I don't even know what comes from.
A lot of these countries should do it. I mean, it makes perfect sense for them to do it because a lot of things they're not gonna have to buy from us anyways. They're not looking to buy goods. Most people can't afford the goods we sell anyways. They don't. That's like luxury goods in these countries. Don't get it wrong on that. And if companies are smart, they're taking their factories and they're moving them over there anyways. Let me ask you just one quick question, Steve. Softball question a little bit. You know what I mean? So how do you want to go out with a good softball question? I don't want. So how do you feel that these tariffs and just this economic policy as a whole will turn out, say, a year from now or 2 years from now? Where do you think we may be? Just asking for a projection, not saying that you can go.
If I look at it from the perspective of negotiating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say we will turn out pretty damn good next year after. By 2027, I think, from an economic side of the house, I think we'll be much better off than we were in the previous administration. I really do. Now, does that mean we're going to bring in thousands and thousands, millions of jobs back in the United States? That's yet to be seen because it's too early. I can't project that because I haven't. Yes, we have a couple of people saying they want to invest how many billions of dollars and create, new factories over here and get out of China or whatever. So that's not a very softball question because it requires a lot of speculation on my part. And the speculation being that I have to look at many factors. What are we going to do once these tariffs ramp down? Because eventually they will ramp down. Because if he's smart, not saying that he is, but if he's smart, he'll ramp them down because they have negotiated that down.
Mm-hmm.
That is a smart thing to do. You bump it up, you get it going, and then you come to an agreement and you ramp that. You get trade agreements, you get treaties. All those things are what should happen in the next few months. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But those ramifications right now, they are going to hurt. He admitted to it. He said it's going to be a little bit painful. But that's what he needs to do. He needs to go ahead and get trade agreements with these countries that are killing us. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to still be 1-to-1. We're not going to have an even trade relationship with it. That's never going to happen. Those countries can't afford to be paying those high tariffs. That's going to destroy them compared to what's going to happen to us. Those other countries are going to get hit harder because we are upping the tariffs on them than what we're going to experience. Now, the problem is we're doing it with however many countries around the world.
Everybody, pretty much, except for Russia and South and North Korea.
At the beginning, that's what's going to affect us in the beginning. But it's going to be, hopefully, I'm hoping that it's going to be a series of trade agreements that come out of this. We give you this, you give us that, a tit for tat kind of thing. But we're still not going to be at the same. We're not going to be hopefully at such a bad difference in between those things. So I do think if that's where he's going with it, I think we'll be just fine. Yeah. And you will start, we're in correction territory because the stock market's always overvalued. Okay. Taking a hit like it really is.
You're calling this correction territory based off the fact of what his shares did, not based off the fact of where the market is or what's going on with the market. It's based off.
It is a correction to the market. We are overvalued. The stock market is way overvalued.
It's been overvalued for a long time. Long time.
But it needed a hit. It needed a hit like this. When was the last time we really took a hit? 2008. A serious hit like this. It was 2008, and we recovered just fine, did we not?
So we do. I don't know. It's just to me. I understand where you're coming from, but it's just like, so we do something man-made to the market to call it a correction, take money out of people's.
Again, you got to remember, it's not the stock market isn't what everybody thinks it is. It's a speculation market.
Absolutely. It's future-based. You want to have your PE ratios 20 times or less. You know what I'm saying? I know that a lot of these are out of whack. I've gotten that for a while, but a lot of these companies are speculative companies because they're AI companies. They're
every stock you buy is speculative. Everything
more or less.
No, more than less, because when you buy a stock, you're taking a risk. Because you don't know what that stock is going to take tomorrow. Yeah.
But when a lot of these things are based off of actual. That's why I say there's not fully speculative because they're based off of actual goods. Say you buy Chevron stock, that they have X amount of barrels in the ground of oil that they can pump out and they can sell. There's something there there's a tangible item there that's being sold.
No,
not like during the .com boom.
That is a bad example. Because you know well that oil market is so
volatile. It goes up and down, but there's something
it fluctuates constantly. That's not really a constant.
But we know that oil's in the ground. We know that we're going to pump the oil out, and there's going to be money made. So there's always going to. It's a business to where there's a.
We don't regulate that. We don't regulate that. The United States doesn't regulate that. The stock market doesn't regulate that. That's all negotiated pricing.
Are you talking about the barrel of oil? How much a barrel of oil costs? I'm not talking. I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm speaking on the part of there's an actual tangible item that you're grading this company off of. Okay.
If you're looking at a standard number of barrels of oil a day, I get where you're coming from, except for the fact that that's going to go up. That's going to, the drill baby drill thing, that all that oil production will start going up again this year. If it hasn't already.
We're already at top oil production right now. We're already at top oil production we've ever had right now in mankind that we know of.
We still import oil. We still import different types of oil from Canada. They have a lighter grade oil than what we
exactly, and that's why and we can't. So all the drill baby drill we want to do in this country is not going to produce the type of oil that we can actually what is it called not manufacture, but
okay, I get what you're saying, but
we can process. So we know that that's not even.
Biden wanted to go down to Venezuela to get oil.
They have a more thick oil than what we can do. Yeah, but it's probably cheaper for us as well too. But we can't.
But we shouldn't do that if we have it here. That's the whole point. If you want to create more jobs, build some more refineries.
Yeah.
Build cleaner fuel resources. You can do that with today's technology. The problem is the Biden administration didn't want to do that because they were so climate change based that they were so climate change based they didn't want to produce more because they were getting yelled at by all the.
I think producing oil, that's a dirty. It's not even good. If we produce more oil,
anymore. Not anymore. We're in the 21st century, man. Live in the 21st century. This
are you being serious? Fracking and everything else that we already do to produce oil is not a dirty way. The water in North Dakota is filthy because of it. I mean, the groundwater, even running piping with oil from different oil refineries, thing like that, different oil wells is dirty because they have spills on a consistent basis. We know this. It happens all the time. So this isn't.
I mean, stuff is going to spill when they're draining it out. But here, let me ask you a question. Here, let's try to end here on a high note. Steve, you have a stain on your shirt right now. How did that come about?
Don't even. Listen, I got to tell you a funny story. A friend of mine sent me. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I grew up near Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I will root for every Philly team except for the Eagles. I just can't do it. And there's a story behind that. I have been a diehard Dallas fan since I saw Roger Staubach at 4 years old playing on TV. And I watched. It was the first game I remember watching and understanding what football was. Mm-hmm. And my dad and my sister are diehard Eagles fans. But in my defense, my dad's sister was a diehard Cowboys fan as well.
My brother loved the Cowboys.
But here's the thing. A buddy of mine sent me a meme years ago when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. It said the Cowboys highlights versus the Eagles highlights, and the Cowboys highlights, Super Bowl highlights, are still on VHS.
It's true though. I mean, you guys for some reason haven't been able to put it together. You've had good teams, but I don't.
Well,
my brother says it's Dak. My brother says Dak's the
reason. No. It's not. I think we have. I mean, it's Dak's fault now, but it was Tony Romo's fault last time.
Well, Tony Romo. Someone pointed that out to me. They were like, "Look," I was like, "Tony Romo's trash." They're like, "No, Tony Romo scores 44 points a game. The defense gives up 50 points a game." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, it makes sense," Yeah. So Tony Romo was good.
Don't trash me, man. I can't help it.
I can't trash you for wearing it.
I had to sit through all that shit with my sister this year with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I was up there when they won the first one, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this. My sister has a bar downstairs in her basement. Really nice. She made me sit in the corner and she told me to shut the hell up if I say anything wrong. Kick me out of the house.
Hey, I think they got a shot to win a couple more too with the team they have. I know they lost a bunch of players, but they always come and do that after you win a Super Bowl. But they got a solid team. They just won a couple of years ago too. They lost a couple of years ago.
Started, man. I sat there this past year going, I gave up after the first game, and I'll tell you why. Because they didn't go out and get a running back. They had no running back whatsoever.
No, they went back and got what's his name?
Yeah,
Zeke.
Ezekiel Elliott.
They shouldn't let him go in to begin with. They didn't run him when they had him. You didn't run him when you did in the beginning. In the beginning of the first few years, they ran him, but after that, they didn't even run him anymore. And you kind of wasted him.
They probably ran him out. That's what they did. I mean,
running backs only good for like 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, they're done after that.
I mean, you see it. I think. Well, who was it? Adrian Peterson was the one. He was the anomaly, right? He lasted for a long time, was productive for a long time.
Well, you got Saquon too, but it's also your O-line. It's like if you got a weak O-line and they're not creating holes, I mean, your running back's not doing anything.
Emmett lasted for a long time.
The Cowboys had a great O-line, and they
back in the day they did. Back in the day, they used to have us. I mean, they had one. I don't know if they had a good running. They just didn't run the ball. They didn't make very good decisions. I blame it on Jerry Jones a lot of time. I think that he's just a really
he gets too involved.
Man, like.
Back and let them coach their own team, but it's his money. He's like, look, the players, we're going to come to a negotiation because he's the one. He's like, I'm the one that's going to write the check that he's going to cash. And I'm like, well, since you put it that way, if I own it, I'm cashing the checks. I'm there on the field too. I'm like, yo, do this and do that. I don't care if we lose. At least you did what I told you to do. So
and losing,
it's my team. I pay the salaries, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Now, as much as I don't like it, I can't really say much because I don't have a stadium down in Texas that has a big giant screen over there. That's not mine. He does.
Yeah.
So I mean, I eventually think the Cowboys will get back to glory again before I die.
Possibly.
Hopefully before I die. I really do. I think if they're smart, they'll draft a freaking quarterback in the next year or two. Somebody that's worth a crap.
What about Genty? They're getting Genty at running back.
I don't know much about him. I have to look him up.
He's a hard runner.
They should have tried to get Deion's son and hired Deion. That would have brought him back to glory and brought their fans back to him too.
I wouldn't have coached for them if I was Deion, because that dude doesn't let you coach. He doesn't let you be your own person. If I can't pick my personnel, you want to be the GM.
Hey, I'll tell you where they made the mistake. They got rid of that kid, the offensive coordinator that was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. He went to the Eagles the last 2 years, and came out of Boise State. What the hell's his name? Young kid too. He's only like 33, 34 years old.
Was he a quarterback at Boise?
No, he was a quarterback. He was a left-handed quarterback for Boise State. He was the offensive.
It wasn't Keenum or nothing like that. Keenum wasn't one. It wasn't one of them.
I forget his name. But he's a hell of a coach. And if you were going to get rid of somebody, shouldn't have been him. It wasn't his fault that the offense sucked. It was the performance of your quarterback and your running backs that sucked.
And your quarterback was hurt for over like 3/4 of the season, wasn't he? I mean, and you're getting
they fired him. Let's see, was it 2 years ago? And the Eagles, or was it last year? And the Eagles picked him up for this past season, and look what happened. Went to the Super Bowl and won. Now, granted, he had Saquon Barkley running, and so that dude. And look, I'm a Penn State fan, so I love me some Saquon Barkley. So that's why it was hard for me to root against the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
You guys didn't even get King Henry. You guys had a chance to get King Henry too. You could have had him back there in the backfield.
Oh man, I tell you what, that dude's so big. He is massive. I would have loved him on my team, but they didn't want to spend the money for him. They didn't want to spend the money, and he didn't. He didn't really do much this past year though.
He killed him. He was like number 2 in rushing. He almost ran for 2,000 yards this year. He killed him this year.
Travis Henry.
No. Yeah, is that his name? Travis Henry? I think it's something.
Saquon Barkley.
Derrick Henry. I think he ran for like 1,600 yards or something crazy like that. He killed him this year. He was up. Him and Saquon were neck and neck for a while.
I didn't hear his name a lot this past year.
It was
maybe because Saquon was the man.
Yeah, but they were neck and neck for a while, didn't he?
I gotta give him credit. He could have broken record this year easily, and he sat down and said, "Let the other kids play."
He should have broken the record.
That's a hell of a man right there.
He should have broke that record, man. But honestly, you can't break the record to me anymore because you got too many games now. I think they were playing 14 games at a time or something like that. You can't break that record. It doesn't count. You got 3 more games.
I love Emmitt Smith, but Jim Brown's the best running back that ever lived. Period.
Barry Sanders, man. Barry Sanders.
No.
Barry Sanders would have played any more time. He stopped at 30 years old. If he had went for another 4 years, 5 years, like most running backs do, he would have broke every single record out there.
Who wants to stay in Detroit?
But yet he'd probably be sitting in a wheelchair or with a walker.
Look at Megatron. Megatron did the same thing. He left.
You see his fingers though? He was like, his fingers are like this from playing football for so long. He's like, this is what it did to me. He was like, Megatron. His fingers are all like distorted and they're bent from playing football. He's like, that's why I left.
Like Deion Sanders. You notice how his hands are kind of like messed up like this, so he can't permanently.
All you're jamming your fingers, catching that ball all the time, tackling people, jamming your fingers. You look at an offensive lineman. There's very few offensive linemen that probably live into their 70s because their bodies are so broken down. They get fat and lazy and die of heart attacks.
Yeah. You notice they lose a bunch of weight when they leave. They lose a bunch of weight, like crazy.
But some of them don't because they're in such bad pain that they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? What's that guy that used to be on the ESPN? Mark something. He used to play for the Broncos. He was an offensive lineman.
Schlereth?
Yes.
He died? He didn't die. He lost weight.
No, he didn't die.
He lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
But because his body let him, there's a lot of guys that like the guy for the Cowboys that
Leon. It wasn't Leon. It was one of the other ones, wasn't it?
It was an offensive lineman. He lost a lot of weight too, and his health was amazingly better.
He just died.
A lot of these guys.
One of those guys just died from the Cowboys. I can't remember which one. One of their offensive linemen.
Was it Leon?
I can't remember which. I think he probably played defense.
Those guys go through hell. They don't play long. Granted, they get a lifetime pension after they leave, and if they play a certain amount of years, whatever. I don't know how that works, but those guys go through hell on that field. Now, I do think with all the regulations coming down on football, they're making rules changes again this year. So, but I honestly think eventually with all the with all the issues we've had with concussions over the years, I think it's gonna be called the NFFL, the National Flag Football League.
Yeah.
Eventually.
That's
where it's going. That's where, I mean, I don't think it's going to go there, but at some point they're going to, there's so many issues with head injuries.
Yeah, when you're running into each other at that kind of speed and the velocity of that's really a crazy sport when you really think about it. It's like it's just the margin for error is so slim when it comes to severe injuries that most people can suffer on a regular basis on every play. Pretty much, I think that's the bigger problem.
The kid up in Buffalo a couple of years ago during that last game of the year against the Chiefs.
Oh man, Hamler.
I hate that happened. I do hate that happened, but I did win the championship because of that game.
Jesus, so you won the championship because of that game. This is great. Hey, but hey,
yeah, it's because they wiped out all the stats for that game. I'd have lost that championship except for that game.
Damn.
Yeah,
well, I mean, we're gonna.
But I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back, and hopefully he won't get himself hurt again.
Whatever happened to him, that was a tough one. That was a real tough one right there.
Yeah, and with that, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. This has been our Sunday Town Hall. Thanks for Steve for always joining us this week. Wesley in the building. I'm D-Mac Uno. We will see you next week.
All right, you guys.
Have a good afternoon. Good evening.
You too.